Yeah. Just here? Yeah. Okay. Ma'am, thank you so much. I'm not accustomed to this. Usually I speak to smaller groups, close and loud. And so much for inviting. Keep it up. Reminded me, just keep it up. I do my business day in and day out, but I love to start with a couple of things. I want to tell you, remember going to Tupperware parties and Mary Kay parties. I would look really quickly through the book to see what's the cheapest thing I can find. Well, I can get out of here when the party's over. No selling on my part today, okay? I'm here just to give you, because I feel like information is so very important. There'll be no follow-up on my part. I didn't take your name, appointment. I want you to have it. The information I'm giving you a little accurate just my career with Click Funeral Home. People say, "Are you part of the family?" And I am not biologically part of the family. I've just been around like I am. So I've been a part of everything I'm going to wear. And probably at the end, that way, in case people have questions, I'll be around. But if you want to get out of here and have the rest of your Saturday afternoon, you can do that too. So we're going to do that. Let me out the your family. That's nothing you have to turn in any. Then I had two little white that look like have some lines for you to fill. The one that has two lines down it, one says death certificate information, and one says funeral service. Yes, that's it. Let's hold it up there and make sure everybody has that. That is the lead as a funeral director to bring me, if I, because that information, left hand side, and everybody who's spoken today has spoken to this, and if you could see the difference in family, me, information, and when they haven't. Otherwise, we're having to try to figure out what was my mother's mother far through school. Did you shut up? And we have to know this information because just in a couple of days, I need that death certificate. In so-and-so county, you can't even be cremated. The more quickly we have the system, so on the left-hand side is the main thing. I was the daughter who would go, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk about it. You're not my, and we didn't talk about it a whole lot. Don't know anything. So we go home to start making arrangements, and the funeral director, she told us what we needed, and she told us what we needed to do, we don't know the answer. I need to slow down just a little bit and think about these questions. So that's why if you could just give somebody this information that I'm asking you for, just down the left-hand side, that would get all of this. By the time you get to the funeral home to meet with us, people walk through the door, they're still scrambled. You've either been up at the hospital and you're tired and you're weary and your brain's all foggy and your heart's broken, and I have to start asking you these questions. If you would just family that out so that through that and start such a wonderful gift. Everybody know where that information is. Okay? Keep it in a place, but necessarily put it in a lockbox and bank, because when all this starts happening, nobody's going to walk to the bank box. It's somewhere family find it. And so I think, am I still on? I think that's very important that you do that. That's in each handout. And then I have some of those. You didn't. There's all kinds of places to put all of your arrangements. What songs you want. Church has such a document, probably most of it, where you can. So that's important. Put it in your hands. It's simple. Do it. Will you do it? If you haven't, I hear all the time. After my loved one dies at home, I wake up and doesn't. Wake up and my wife doesn't. I do. First thing you do is dial 911. You call 911. The paramedics, the emergency personnel will come. If you have these different documents about DNR and things like that, be sure the person take fiddle and their pronouncement. So that's what just happened. About hospice. We all kind of cringe when we think about hospice, because we think, you know, whatever, or in a facility, and you're under hospice, you call audios, the death pronouncement on you right out of your bed or your home. Where you are, you don't have to hear, and I'm not. But here from one little thing is we were talking about organ donation. Let's say you've been at the hospital. It's going to start calling the home phone, whatever they have for a phone. You look at that number. It doesn't say Tennessee Donor Services necessarily, and you're like, I'm tired, I'm weary, I'm not going to answer this phone. Right now, until there's been a certain period of yes or no. That could be not gotten the call because they've been. You're not on the phone because you're tired and don't talk to anybody on the phone. So therefore, you're from happening. But let them know you either are a donor have to still have and they have to have it in order to take heart. But what donor services really wants are bones and skin, and those can pass away, but they can use those even after, because they would love to have the hospital, or if you have hospital, you call. If you have this paperwork filled out for your funeral home, whoever that is, then you call your funeral home, because they're going to, we do state and do a cremation with no viewing. Means to have the cremation. It's a way in order to. What I like to do when you come in and bring me this information, I give you a little card, and I don't know where Father David would wear it, because he wears his stuff around his neck. But I tell people to put it in their wallet. You can keep your wallet with you, so if you are trying arrangements or somebody knows mom. If you're going to be cremated, you absolutely do not have to be embalmed. If you're going to travel across state lines in a common carrier, I had to go to the airport. She was packed in dry ice. She was going to Florida. Oh no, she can't go on. Have to wait till common carrier. You sent in your obituary, start jotting it down now while you're alive and healthy, and things will change. But you know, I had one man said, "I just want you to put in there that David died." I'm like, "Okay, then that's what we can do." Other times there's a family member and they need to write this obituary. That's real important to them to do that. And just get really linked. This very past week, I had one that we submitted to Chicago, and it was going to be $1,495. And it wasn't exorbitantly long. Newspaper readership is down quite a bit because of the internet and computers. But I think that's pretty expensive for each his own. You know, you do what you want to do. But if you need to, you certainly can. But start putting down things. Some people don't want a long one. So all about you won't. Because I'd want to know, by goodness, when time came, I didn't know. I was cold and didn't. I came into this profession. On the pension, or you're drawing something from the VA, I'm not going to tell you, because they asked me one time, pleased to tell people about funerals, but not tell them about their VA benefits. So if you're drawing a pension, there are other benefits. If you're just out of the service, you have a DD-214, you're honorably discharged, of course, you know you can have a plot at the dawn. Your spouse can be buried there for absolutely no charge. That includes the spots, the outer burial containers, and a marker. And that's a really good deal. So I always want people to know if you're even eligible. I tell my field trip one day and ride out on their highway and look at there because it's beautiful to you if you're a veteran. You get the plot, you get a flag, you can have the ceremony where the veterans come and they fold the flag and shoot the guns and play taps. I'm thinking about going to Arlington. It might take a year before you can be buried in Arlington. Maybe a little bit less took somebody. So every now and then we do a funeral and they'll be in the casket. They tell us it's going to be a year in a cremation, so we can keep it for a year. It's hard to keep a body a year. So just kind of know that it's important to you. But those are the things that are available to Social Security too. I think that's just cool. But what you get for your funeral, your spouse, if you have a spouse, gets $205 whopping dollars. Okay, that's charity pays for your funeral. You're the first one, or a widower, a bit dicey because I'll have one of these seminars in the village, and the next thing I know, words all around and all kinds of crazy things have been kind of, you remember that little game where we whispered and it went all the way around the room, and by the time it gets back to me, it's all convoluted. But who can sign for my cremation? Cremation, we have to be so much more, because if you involve a question about and down, we can exhume a body. If you die and we do a cremation, it's done. There's nothing we can do to undo that. So that's why it takes a doctor to sign your death certificate. That's why somebody in the family in the state of Tennessee has to sign for your cremation. I know it's crazy. You can decide your millions of dollars. Has to give us permission to do the cremation. According to Till, and it's been fairly recent, we've made great strides. Your financial, your health care power of attorney can, so if you have no spouse, you have no children, your financial, everything else, their powers died with you, except for deciding what to do with your body after you died, okay? So you need to be sure that person knows what you want to do. However, there are about 3 maybe crematories that aren't privately owned by other funeral homes that we all use here in this area. They're still going to want to go by the old rule for the most part. If you die with no spouse and you have 4 children, I still contact all 4 children to make sure they're okay with the cremation. That one hasn't just everybody else out of the loop. There again, because we can't take it back once it's done. So I would ask you, could we at least call them? Could we get some kind of permission from all of the siblings to okay this cremation? I've not seen him in 30 care what happens to him, so it's okay. It's the very dollar in her ear. If they cremated your mama and didn't tell you, you can probably sue that funeral home, and you can probably get a whole lot of money because we cremated her. So just kind of know, I keep the forms in my office where you can go ahead and do it ahead of time. Everybody out, yes? except for what the body and your financial power in elder and funeral service. So you need to be sure you have that personal representative who can do things on. Right. There's usually a place where it says they can. It doesn't specifically say that. Write it in there that this person can decide what to do with my body. Does that make sense? No. And I'm not real big on get rid of everything that you had. If you power of attorney, I'd still hang on to it, and I don't need to be going against what we've been told earlier, because you still could use that to show me that you have power of attorney, that somebody had your power of attorney. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay? Anything else just burning on your heart before we keep going? We're not going to go forever. I'm going to get you out of here just a little bit early. It's been a long day. You've done great to hang with us this long. We appreciate it very much. Okay, let's see. What does a funeral cost? You know, you see these commercials on television. A funeral can cost up to $12,000, and that's true. But you got to think about what all they're including in that. A funeral, like, I didn't bring price lists or anything with me because I'm at Click way down there. You have different funeral homes here, and I don't know what their prices are, and I didn't want to get into all of that. But a funeral can get to $12,000, but you have a lot of control over that. And it's good to know when you go in that you do have that control. Like our fee at mine is like, I believe, $4,300 for what we do, for the embalming, getting the body ready and everything. Then you decide what casket you want to use. That can be anywhere from, we have a little one for $795 all the way up to several $1,000, but you have control of that. What kind of vault you're going to use. There are two different kinds of outer burial containers, and most of the time the cemetery requires you have an outer burial container. So it would be worth checking with your cemetery to see. What we can also use in Lenoir City at the cemeteries, they let us use just a container, not a vault. The container looks more like a shoebox. It goes down in the ground, the casket goes into the box, and a lid sits on top. That's what the cemetery wants because it keeps the cemetery from caving in as much as if you just had a casket. If you want a true vault, they go up more in price. The vault has a base on it. It goes down into the ground. The casket sits on top of the base. Then the domed lid, if you've ever been to a funeral and seen this thing sitting over to the side, the domed lid goes over top of the casket and makes the difference in a vault and an outer burial. Outer burial container is considerably cheaper than a vault, but it just all depends on what is your comfort level. Then you also have to have cemetery lots. Then you have to pay to have those lots opened and closed. So pretty quickly, the $4,000 for a funeral can get to. I didn't know we could ask questions. You just go in and go through the motions. And I've always chided Larry Click a little bit about that because he didn't tell me that. He could have. But anyway, I know now we have a little white casket that's about $1,500. It would have done the same job. It was white. It was beautiful. But nobody told me $1,500 instead of $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 on a casket. I'm not a cheapskate. Maybe I am a little bit. But part of me thinks you don't show somebody how much you love them by how much money you spend on their funeral. When you can have a very nice funeral for thousands less if you just know what you're doing. You just know how to kind of shop it. I had a gentleman yesterday came in and told me, he said, well, I'm ordering my casket from Costco. I said, that's fine and dandy. If that's what you want to do, you order it. And I'm going to and I'm going to have it there. And I'm like, you do it. I'll put her in the Costco casket. Everybody will be happy. So that you want to. After he said, went on Amazon. You can, yes. To get cremated, no. You do not have to casket to get cremated. I know, and some funeral homes make you do it because that way they can sell you a casket, and some states do too. That's cremated in, so no, you do not have to buy a casket to be cremated. Yes, ma'am. Very good. Question. You think that's funny, but we do. And what it is solid oak casket. Very good. It's a solid oak. It's viewed. Your friends all come around to view your body. Or when we have your mass at the church, that oak, they spend a lot of casket. At the end of that, back to the funeral home, the end of that casket opens, and you in it slides out of that casket, and we take that to the crematory, and the next person in gets to use that casket. And it's $195 instead of several $1,000s. So well, that's just so you're all comfortable. Our Hindu friends, they buy solid mahogany caskets. Cremate them, then buy a solid mahogany urn to put in. Everybody can do help you do what you want to do. I want you to know these little tricks of the trade. When it comes to that time, like you said, we could get something for $4.95, or at least with us, you can. Okay. So, yes, that was a very good question. It's called a viewing casket, and that's what it's for. It's for viewing only. Anybody else have a burning question before we move on? We're going to. What does cremation cost at $1,095? And I'm comparable all around. I don't know. My friend Jim saying options, and I think he's in neighborhood. We don't really price shop. We try to stay competitive with everybody else, but that's just something you can ask whenever you go in. I will tell you, in the state of Tennessee, we cannot discount your funeral beforehand. Now, after somebody dies, can't do anything. And I had to pull the law out. Man, and we're the only state in all 50 who cannot. $1,995. You used to say 95, and I had to whoop, so I'm like $1,995. So, yes, ma'am. Absolutely. We do. We would just need a DD-214, and then we can take it from there. Yeah, sure do. Sure. They'll take your email address and my email address and work with all of us, but we help make that happen. Well, I think they'll start with cutting off just the enlisted. I don't know this. I'm making this up. With the enlisted people, and maybe do the people higher up. I don't know. Really? Okay. I've not heard that. I've not had anything that says that to me, so I don't know that. But if they won't, we can't. But if they don't, we will. Just remember, it's going to take a long time to get there. I even had a man. He was like a colonel, and they were like, "Oh yeah, okay, well, we'll make it happen." Well, they can't make it happen any quicker than anybody else can. It's a process, They got real bewildered. They could not speed it along, and you just can't. You take what you get. But I don't know. I have not heard that. Anything else? Yes, ma'am. Don't have to, and it's a columbarium I'm familiar with. There's the one at Telco and the one at St. Thomas and the one at the Veterans Cemetery. When you buy your niche in either one of those two, they come with an urn because they are certain. A common brass cube, and when you pay for your niche, the urn is included. At the community, like a post office box, kind of like that, so the urns are made that way. They come with the urn. Because the churches make their own prices. 2 colors and 1 color, whatever that you get, but that's up to the church. Yes, ma'am. Okay, let me tell you how that. Glad you asked. That's why I say I'll never ask you for money, but there is such a plan, and we do it through my funeral home. We do it through an insurance company called National Guardian Life Insurance. And if you come in to do that with me, and I can't talk you out of prepaying, I don't try to talk you out of it, but I want you to be sure that's what you want to do, because everybody's got different ideas about their money. But you would fill out a very brief insurance application. Everybody's accepted. It's just that's the way they do it. Say your funeral or cremation for you, and then when the time comes, your funeral's paid in full. If you wanted to start making payments on it, which you can do, I think they'll take 3 years, 5 years, depending on your age, how long you can do that. The only reason I tell people to be careful, if you take out a $3,000 funeral and pay for it over 10 years, with the insurance they're going to carry on you, you're going to pay 2 or 3 times what that funeral's worth. Okay? The reason they tell me, and I try to explain it, and I don't totally understand it myself, but the reason is the first 2 years, if something happens to you, you're just going to get what you've paid in back. After year number 2, 3 years on through however many, if you die, and if you didn't have health issues when you took out the policy, they're going to pay for your funeral in full, whether you've paid it in full or not. So that extra you're paying offsets the insurance they're going to carry on you for those next 5, 10, 15 years. So if you understand that and that's okay with you, that's fine. I just want people to know you will pay more the longer you spread it out. Does that make sense? Okay. Yes? What happens if you are traveling abroad and one is okay. Okay. Uh-huh. I think you would just, I'm not sure, is it one of the cliques here? And we're not, the cliques here in Knoxville are no longer owned by the clique family. I don't know if you know that or not. So I'm being very, I tell you about what clique's going to do because I don't know what clique is going to do. At my funeral home, we would make every effort to get you. I also sell for an additional benefit if it makes you $450, I think, policy with a company called, watch me not be able to say it now that you've asked me, but I have all the information in my office and it'll come to me tonight sometime. But they guarantee to get your body or your cremated remains back from anywhere in the world. There again, I'm careful about telling you the way the world is right now. I mean, we never have failed to get anybody back, but I'm just very careful about that. I have a friend who was a missionary in Africa, and he wanted his body back here for a body burial, and we were able to get him back. We've gotten people back off cruise ships. Inman, I-N-M-A-N is the name of that insurance company. And you can buy that policy, and they guarantee you would call them before you would even call your funeral home because they would pick up the body wherever you were abroad when you passed away. That's it. Okay? The I-N-M-A-N, Inman, Inman, I-N-M-A-N. Like not an out man, but an in man. I-N-M-A-N. Got it? And usually your funeral home can help you with that too, or there are probably other companies like that. They're just the ones that I have used. And yes, ma'am. she wants to take her body back and be buried there, sure, we'll help. I just recently had a lady trying to get cremains into Germany, and it was almost impossible. But we were able to because we could find a funeral home over there who would accept the cremated remains when they came in. So, sure, we would help with anything and finding somebody there that would help to do that. Absolutely. I say we, I will. I'm sure anywhere will. Mhm. No, no, we can't send them. The only way we can send cremated remains is through the mail. And we can do that. Most cemeteries won't accept them through the mail because they want somebody to deliver them. So yes, my number one best thing is please put them under your arm and take them on the airplane with you to wherever you're going to take them. When they come back from the crematory, they're in a black fiberglass urn and in a white box. Keep them that way if you're going to travel on a plane. The planes don't want any metal. They want it just to be something that scanner will be able to see through. So don't buy you a big old fancy urn and then have them make you dump it out or something when you're flying. You will have paperwork. We will give you a cremation certificate and a cremation permit that shows what's in there. But the metal's what will throw them off every time. So just leave it in the box. And you can either take it on your carry-on or in your under the plane. What is so funny about this man's having a real attack up here on the front row. Took it where? Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Did she really? Yeah. Yeah, well, I hope they didn't lose. That's always my fear. When I drop them at the post office, I'm like, dear Lord in heaven, let Mama get there, because what are they going to do if she doesn't? They're going to say, oh, we're so sorry. We'll pay you $100, and we're so sorry. Well, that's your mama, So my best case scenario is you take them with you. That's exactly right. And can you plan ahead? And I'm going to come back to quick. Can you plan ahead? Absolutely. In my case, you can pre-plan and never pay a dime, or you can pre-plan and prepay if you choose to do that. The main thing, the important time to prepay is if either of you is ever headed to a nursing home. And if any of you have been through that process, and then for the person in the nursing home, they start doing a spend down. You have to spend down so much money to qualify them for aid in the nursing home. Well, you can pay both of your funerals out of that one person's spend down. So that's the only time I would ever say it's imperative that you start thinking about prepaying, as if anybody goes to the nursing home. Yes, ma'am. No. Whenever you prepay with us, now there again, I'm talking about what I know, okay? So when you prepay with us, if you prepay a $4,000 cremation service, whatever, and you don't die for 50 years, as long as you don't change what's in that service, you have all the same things. You don't pay anymore. And I never like to leave that without saying, now, I can't promise if you die here, you're prepaid here, if you move to New York and your service there is $10,000, you'll have everything you've put into your policy, plus it's going to grow. Ours grows at like 1.5% interest a year. So you'll have all of that to take with you to New York to put against it, but I can't guarantee they won't charge you anymore. I guarantee you we won't. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Really. You got to watch those people. Well, really, and they maybe just didn't think about it. I mean, I don't know if it was intentional. Oh, it was intentional, yeah. Well, good. Good for you. What I like to do, good. And what I like to do is when a family, you have children or something, I'm like, let me make up a packet for all 4 of your kids and give it to them so they'll know what you have and what's been prepaid. And because sometimes it's hectic right at the time to know what's going on. Good point. Very good point. Let somebody know what you've prepaid for so you don't pay for it again. Okay. Other questions? I'm pretty well done. Look at that. It's 10 till. I did good. Yes. Well, you would do it with us. No, I can't discount a prepayment. I can't discount a prepayment. No, well, you can prepay, but rather than years ago, the funeral home would take your money and just keep it, and it would grow in interest, and we'd have to send you a 1099 every year for that interest. And then some funeral homes went belly up, and you died, and too bad, too sad. There was no money. Just a lot of reasons. Tennessee has gone to using an insurance product to hold your money. Anything else? Yes. Uh-huh. They stay forever. Your picture drops off eventually because it takes up a lot of room, but the verbiage is, on ours, it's supposed to stay on forever. They tell us. I don't know, who knows forever. I had a lady once say to me, now if I buy this casket, do you promise me it will be intact when Jesus comes back? And I was like, I said, oh no ma'am, I can't promise you that because I don't know when he's coming. And I don't make promises I can't keep. So, as far as I know, forever on the website. Good question. Any other? Yes? Uh-huh. Normally that's what we do, and pick up the body at port when they come back. It's a lot more simple to do it in the United States from the United States than it is in a different country, so. Very good. Good advice. Anything else from anybody? Going once? And I'll be around. If you have a question you feel like it's too goofy to ask in front of everybody, you can come find me and I'll answer it. Okay, thank you very much.